Okay, guys, interviews. Now, the word interview has an aroma and a plethora of fright attached to it. Why? Now, interviews for me in the beginning was something where going there just having a conversation with somebody. I'll be honest with you, that's what it was for me. But as I trained myself more and more and more on how to actually go through an interview, can you guys hear me by the way?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. As I trained myself more and more and more on how to go through interviews, focusing on my weaknesses, making them better, practicing, at the end, an interview became a walk in the park for me. So make a plan. What do I mean by that? Okay. So let's let me give an analogy. You guys have been through Sanya's CV sessions. Now you're thinking, okay, my CV is completed. I'm ready for the CV. Sorry, I'm ready for the interview now. Let's apply. Someone's called you. I want to see you for an interview at this time, this date. So the question is now, how do you prepare? Now, preparation for an interview is something that you guys have to ace yourselves. The way you do that is by putting yourself through exercises by focusing on your weaknesses. So for example, if one of your weaknesses is that I can't string the sentences together when I'm pressured, there's two ways of going about this to fix it. Well, the first thing you do is you get your friends to pressure you, or somebody close to you, you get them to pressure you. You get them to pressure you, ask you questions as if, I don't know, I'll put you in a very uncomfortable situation, make you uncomfortable, ask you questions that you may not want to answer, but have you answering in a logical way. That way you train yourself to be ready for the interview. That way you train yourself for someone else to pressure you in an interview. Most time it doesn't happen. But even when you're sitting in an interview, and let's say someone asks you a question that knocks you sideways, your heart will naturally start beating very, very fast. And that will affect the words that come out of your mouth because you're not used to being pressured like that because you've probably never been pressured like that before. Another point on that same topic is that a student came to me a few weeks ago with a similar problem. Whenever I go to an interview and they ask me a question, I don't know how to answer. I was like, okay, I've got a trick for you, yeah? When somebody asks you a question that you don't exactly have 100% the answer to, yeah, all you do, but you think that you're just gonna blurt out words, what you do is the person asks you a question, you own the pause. What does that mean? You should not see pauses as something awkward. You should see pauses as an opportunity to take a breather and respond when you feel like you should respond. You shouldn't respond like I don't want to say an animal because that sounds too derogatory. You don't want to respond like a caveman or someone that lives in the jungle. You want to respond in a very coherent and simple way, showing the interviewer that you are someone who's can work as a team and someone whose communication skills are good. If you've put communication skills in your CV, you need to show that. If they say to you, okay, for example, why should we hire you? You respond in a way that's very nice. So what you would normally say is that, okay, you guys have asked for somebody that does XYZ in the job description, and I feel that I can give you guys anecdotes from my life where I have achieved XYZ, I have the ability to do XYZ, and I can do XYZ. That will impress the interviewer because you are directly answering their question, and you are directly answering the question with proof. And if they want to, they will most of the time not ask to establish that proof as facts. But if they do, you can tell them at this situation, I was in this job, I went through this, and this is what happened. Now, what you do is you focus on your other weaknesses too. For example, let's say your weakness is that when someone, let's say for example, in an interview, they ask you for a coding assignment. I want you for entry-level developers, that's what's most likely going to happen. They will ask you to do an algorithm in front of them. So what you do is you think, okay, I know when I go to an interview, they're going to ask me to do an algorithm. What you do is you figure out how to do algorithms, not from memory, because you don't know what algorithm they're going to ask you. What you do is you figure out how to solve a problem through code. Now with coding, as the students that came to my masterclass know, you don't solve the problem on code straight away. You first solve the problem in your mind, on a pen and paper, or somewhere where you know how to solve it. Then you solve it in the code. For example, the Fibonacci sequence. It's very difficult to do that from memory. I'll be honest with you. I mean, I've memorized it a lot of times, but it's very difficult to do that from memory. So what you do is you just write it out what exactly is in a mathematical equation or in a way that you remember, in a way that's relative to your mind, and do it. That's the best way to pass coding interviews because they may not ask you to compile the code. I've been to interviews where they've said to me, okay, there's the whiteboard, solve this equation. If I'm not good at problem solving, how am I going to be able to do that? And to be honest, they don't really care about whether you get to the solution or not. They just want to see your thought process, how you were able to laterally think, How are you able to think in a way that's strategic, and how are you able to think in a way that's problem solving and not get pressured and not saying, okay, I can't do this? Because at the end of the day, they're hiring a problem solver. A software engineer, in its simplest form, just means someone who's solving problems with software, and they want to know how you solve problems. The third advice I'll give you guys is practice, 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 practice. Practice to the point you're blue in the face. If being pressured is your issue, what do you call it? I'm talking about being pressured because it's a common issue people face when it comes to interviews. If being pressured is an issue, get your friends to pressure you. Make them ask you questions. Make them ask you questions that you're uncomfortable about, and respond in a logical way. Respond in a way where you close your mouth for 5 seconds and then you respond. Close your mouth for 5 seconds. Let your brain and your tongue synchronize with one another, and then speak. That will help you guys understand that when you get pressured, you're still in control. When someone asks you a question, you have to make sure you're always in control. You pause when you like, you talk when you like. Then you pause when you like again, then you talk when you like. You have to own the pauses. Do not see pauses as something awkward. It is not awkward. Most of the big business tycoons around the world, that's the way they speak. They close their mouth when they want to close their mouth, and they speak when they want to speak. So that's interviews. Now, what's next?